Okay, yeah. That's good. Well, being in Austria, I think there was a lot of times that like being in it was specifically dealing with difficult people. I found myself like really struggling to actively love them in that moment. Um, yeah, I think that I definitely could have reflected Christ better in those times and um, learning that we like Christ's love for us and for the world, it surpasses how like how he was treated and how they treated him. And I think that was like very humbling for me because I didn't learn that till after I had been there. That like we're expected to love in that way, and I guess I always assumed that it was too extreme for me to ever accomplish that. Which of course we can never meet like that same level that Christ loved because he was God. He is God and he's perfect, and um, but because of that, I was like, well, that's not going to happen for me ever. I think I just didn't even hold myself to any standard on that level, and so um, yeah, frustrating people and people who are, at times just outwardly disrespectful, it can be difficult to love. And I definitely could have loved the people there better. And I think that, I guess that was a big one. There were some very difficult people. And in the end, I think that another thing is like, I did struggle being there, but I could have like let the Lord give me more joy. I think I sat in my own misery for too long, and I could have enjoyed it more if I had let myself and let the Lord like minister to me in that way. Like, yeah, I found joy in him, I found comfort in him, but he definitely like wants to give us the grace to enjoy like what we're doing and where he's placed us. And yeah, I think that in my selfishness, in my desire to complain and need, like in the need for comfort, I could have, I limited what God wanted to do for me. Because of course he can do anything, but I didn't even invite him into that. I just let myself be more miserable than I think I could have been. So yeah, those were two big things I learned after being in Austria. So.
Definitely. So, as the Dean of Women intern, right, what does discipleship look like to you? I mean, what is good discipleship? What's an example of poor discipleship?
Well, I mean, we are like, as we're all called to be disciples, in the Great Commission, like you said. And I think that discipleship isn't just a position to have, it isn't just a circumstance. I think that we're commissioned to have that as a lifestyle as followers of Christ. And now I was blessed to have it be my job, not a job that paid me, but something I was responsible over. And I think that it means continuing and walking in like the gospel by living with these people and living your life with these people and recognizing your shortcomings with them and um, pointing to them to the gospel every single day and allowing the gospel to be spoken to you every single day. And yeah, it doesn't stop when we just accept Christ into our lives. It's the rest of our lives on earth is to glorify the Lord and to spread his word. And so I think that discipleship can go wrong when someone puts it in a box and maybe makes it one specific thing rather than something we're all actually commissioned to do as believers and as the body of Christ. Um, and I think that, usually there's a role where one person is discipling the other person, but I don't think that the person discipling cannot also be discipled by the one receiving it. Um, and um, that there should be vulnerability on both ends, that there should be openness on both ends of brokenness and of the good as well. And I don't know, I think in the church today, we tend to put discipleship in a box. And I feel like the Lord has developed a strong conviction for discipleship in my heart as I've been in Bible college as a student and as an intern to take it seriously as the lifestyle of a believer rather than just a position to have or a season. I think we should always be doing discipleship together as a body.
Yeah, so discipling people as a part of the Christian's regular life and being co-discipled by people, what does that look like for you, both as just an individual and as the Dean of Women intern?
I feel like the two kind of go together right now in this season as an individual and as a Dean of Women intern, because there is like different like levels of responsibility at our school and the student life department, which I'm very thankful for. And so I have a supervisor who is Kayla, like I've mentioned, and her and the dean of students' wife, Katie, have poured into me and discipled me in such an amazing way, this semester and last semester. And it's been really great to like be poured into, not just by God's word, but through people who are older and wiser, and then to be able to pour out. Because I do have regular meetings with dorm stewards and with students, and when I have my own stuff going on, I don't need to burden someone who I'm pouring into with that, like someone else is able to pour into me. And I don't think that that should always be the case. I think that there's plenty of opportunity for me to share like a struggle or a like something going on in my life with someone I am also pouring into. I think that that's important, but being able to have someone just directly pouring into me in the position I'm in, and also just as an individual, has been a blessing, and I think has been very crucial for the quality of my internship and my sanity. And yeah, but in the end, like, we're disciples of the Lord, and if that's not happening, then it just doesn't make sense. So of course, like, the priority is time with the Lord and stewarding that, which is not easy with the busyness of this internship, but is crucial, and I did have to learn that the hard way. So
Definitely. You know, it was said by the Dean of Men, David Diaz, that discipleship is more about being available than it is about a specific program or anything like that. Have you found that to be true as well?
yeah, definitely. Because you can have whatever title, whatever like regular meetings, and anything set up, but if you have not shown that you care and that you are available, it's very, very difficult to make an impact on someone else's life because they won't let you. And to force that is, it's not healthy. And I think that that availability, it just allows the Lord to work in ways that our finite minds could structure ever. And so a big thing for me that I don't know how I even came up with this, but it started very early on in my internship. I started hosting dorm meetings, and so a different dorm would be in my room on Monday nights after chapel. And every time before the dorm meeting started, I let them know why I was doing those dorm meetings, which was to let them know where my room was, that they're always welcome, that there's always snacks and tea and coffee available for them, that it's a comfortable space, and that my door is 100% always open for them. I don't have to be in the room. I could be in the main building. I could be um, at work. I I really let them know that like I am available and I am interruptible. And I got to see fruit from that, which was such a blessing. And so, it's good to have structure, but I don't think that's the only way to do it. I think that yeah, availability is amazing because the Lord will use that in ways that we don't expect. Because like I said, our finite minds cannot imagine what's going on in other people's lives. Like we can add as much structure as we want to discipleship, but in the end, like it is a lifestyle, and yeah, it does take availability. So
Absolutely. So, as the person who is helping to disciple the female dorm stewards on campus, how have you been able to empower them to do discipleship for other people?
um, mostly by pointing them to the Lord and praying for them because they're honestly nailing it. They're doing a great job, and I sit with them and I ask them about every single one of their dorm girls just to get a little pulse check on how all of them are doing. And sometimes it brings up a conflict or something going on or something they're kind of struggling with. And that's when I kind of like am able to step in and either encourage them or just give them guidance. But for the most part, like I think the biggest thing that I've seen that they've needed is just encouragement and to be pointed to the Lord and to be prayed for. Um, because yeah, all of the pouring out of being a dorm steward, like I think it's good to have a person to pour into you as well. And so being able to do that for them and to just sit and listen sometimes or to hang out and do something that isn't super intense and emotional or super intense and spiritual or anything like that. And I think that that's been, a blessing for me, but I've I've seen that that's how I've been able to kind of help pour into them as they're pouring out.
Yeah. Um, and like what you were talking about, if you're going to be pouring out to someone else, you have to be being poured into. So, what is your experience with self care?
Self care.
Things like spiritual disciplines,
Okay.
taking Sabbaths,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you are filled up and poured into before you're able to pour out to other people.
Yeah. So it definitely just starts with time with the Lord. I have not nailed the waking up and spending time with the Lord first thing in the morning. It's always, if it's first thing in the morning, that's awesome. But it usually tends to be at random times in the day. As long as I can get in the Word and get in prayer, like that's been a blessing for me to have that sometimes very like little snippet of time, but just to like nurture that time and cling to it um, has been huge because there will be times where like I will have just read something and then someone will come to me and it's like, oh, that's actually completely relevant for what is fresh on my mind, and I can point them to that. Or, just the Lord being able to minister to me as His daughter, not as someone who's just serving others, but He's definitely nurtured my relationship with Him in this time as I've cared for my spiritual well-being by seeking Him and nurturing my relationship with Him. Um, and when it comes to Sabbath, I have not nailed that. Absolutely not. Um, Still learning that one. The Sabbath I get is the time in the Word. And if Kayla starts to see that I'm getting a little burnt out, she'll give me a forced day off. Um, but yeah, like this past year of interning, I have not done the Sabbath well, and which is interesting because I think that the Lord is like put things in front of my face to like teach me the importance of the Sabbath, like whether it's a chapel or a conversation I have, or listening to a different teaching. I'm picking up what he's putting down right in front of my face is that Sabbath is important, especially just seeing it in myself, like that I'm in need of rest. And yeah, I think that I like in my time of being in Bible college and then being in Austria and then interning at the Bible college, the Lord's definitely been like teaching me the importance of the Sabbath, but I need to practice it, and I haven't done that, and I haven't learned how to do that. So
Yeah. Um, so what I'm hearing you talk about is basically that discipleship is a process of pointing other people to Jesus. It's not necessarily about the way that you do it, but it is about your availability, like being able to spend time with these people. And with that, like it's not as much about the position of being over these girls for you. It seems like it's more about you're in a place where you're able to be available for them, and so it's not that you're like higher than them, but it's that you are more available. So you are able to be pouring into them and also be poured in by them. Does that sound about right?
yeah,
Okay. So knowing that, having these views that you have now, and knowing what direction that you want to go with that, if you were to start over before Bible college, before any of this, what would you want to do differently? What would you want to know back then?
that's a hard question for me because everything that I had done, whether it felt like a mistake or it was sinful, um, the Lord used, and I'm now thankful for it. Um, oh, but you know what? As I'm kind of thinking back on when I first came to Bible college, and kind of what I'm learning right now is not holding as much weight to people's words. I think when I first came to Bible college, I was intimidated by the culture of deep theological conversation and debate, and it was a lot of haughty attitudes and how much theological and biblical knowledge people had, and that being very foreign to me, I was terrified and actually pretty frustrated. But also, I felt this need to like please those people because it was like the culture that was stewarded at the Bible college, and I don't think that's the case now, but it was kind of the culture at the time. And some I had been going to, and I got saved in an extremely charismatic church, and it was definitely spoken out against at the college. Charismatic churches were not accepted by a lot of people at the Bible college at the time, and I think I held way too much weight in what they were saying. But I had to learn later on, like, well, the Lord ministered to me and like reached me in that, and um, yeah, I had to learn like that what other people were thinking like was not gonna be like the end all be all of my reputation or my worth. As a baby Christian, that's something that just takes learning, and so even if I had just, I don't know how I would have learned that or known that right off the bat, but it was something that definitely harmed me. A lot was like putting a lot of weight on man. I had fear of man very heavily, and I think that was very harmful to me, and more harmful to me than I think others at the school. So
Yeah. Well, I don't have any more questions. Do you have anything else you'd like to say? All right. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for doing this interview. Really appreciate
Mhm.
it.
Thank you.